Hello, welcome to the Sankofa Pan-African series. Today, we'll be celebrating the life of Phillis Wheatley, a poet, another African legend. Now, the girl who became immortalized through her poetry as Phillis Wheatley was captured around the area that constitute modern-day Senegal and the Gambia in 1776. She was kidnapped and transported to Boston in the US, where she was put up for sale and bought by a tailor who then gave her as a present to his wife. Although she is believed to have been about 8 years old when she was captured, the name that she was given by her parents at birth is lost to us forever because, like other captured people, she was not allowed to retain her given name. Instead, she was given the name of the ship on which she was transported, like cargo, into slavery. The name of the ship was the Phillis. She got the surname Wheatley from the family which bought her. Again, this was the tradition. Slaves were given the surnames of the families which owned them. Her autobiographer, Margareta Matilde Odell, who is responsible for most of what we know about Phillis Wheatley today, would like us to believe that when she was captured, she arrived in America without any knowledge of her past. Now, this is something that we should all question. Look around you and observe children of age 8 or even 7 and 6. Are they so completely unaware of their surroundings that if taken from where they are today to somewhere else, they would not remember any of their present life? I believe that as an 8-year-old child, the girl who was captured from Africa was old enough to have imbibed some of the cultures and the traditions of the area in which she was born and raised. I'll return to that later. Now, the Encyclopedia Britannica reports that the Wheatley family, who bought and then therefore owned the captive girl, quickly recognized her talent after she was bought. She was kept as a house slave and given privileges that were normally denied other slaves. Margareta Odell reports that the Wheatley family allowed their daughter to teach the young Phillis how to read and write. However, the young girl was so quick to learn that within 2 years, she had mastered the English language and had started learning Greek and Latin. She mastered these languages at an incredible rate and started translating Greek and Latin classics like Ovid. This is something that people actually earn university degrees in order to be able to do. Anyway, by the time she was a teenager, she was writing her own poetry, which the Wheatleys helped her send for publication. Like I said earlier, Margareta Odell, who is the source of most of what is known about Phillis Wheatley's early life, believed that she was a blank slate when she got to the US. And here is a quote from what she wrote about Phillis Wheatley. She writes, and I quote, "She does not seem to have preserved any remembrance of the place of her nativity or of her parents, excepting the simple circumstance that her mother poured water before the sun at his rising in reference, no doubt, to an ancient African custom. Now, as incongruous as the idea that Phillis Wheatley did not preserve any remembrance of her early life before her captivity sounds, a lot of scholars actually believe this biographer. While it is possible to argue that as a child of 8, her memories might have become fragmentary after a while and might not have completely reflected the level of sophistication of the cultural context that shaped them. My position is that as a prodigy, which Phillis Wheatley was unquestionably one, her propensity for such a level of sophistication must be taken into consideration. The fact that she was a prodigy is reflected in the way in which she quickly learned everything. And it is apparent that she was not just, an ordinary girl. She was an uncommonly brilliant girl. So that was why she was able to learn not just English, but Greek and Latin. So how could she have landed in the US without having learned anything from the context from within the oral culture in which she was raised? How could she have lived 8 years of her life having a brilliant a mind as she did without assimilating any of the cultural forms or models that surrounded her? And as researchers into oral tradition and oral cultures over time have come to accept, assimilation of cultural forms and models occurs at a much more rapid rate in predominantly oral cultures. Odell's claim that Phillis Wheatley did not remember anything about her life before being brought to America, we then led people to believe that she was